Okay, now let's talk about another data type in Python, and that this one is called strings or str. So strings, as you can see, are just a text surrounded by quotes, and these quotes can be single like this and or double. So make sure that when you start with single, you end with single quote, right? Don't mix them up. So this is pretty much a string, a text that is surrounded by single or double quotes. Now, in Python or any other language, it's very important to know that these are two separate strings and we can join them together. But first, let's print them here. My name, first. So they're two separate, and these are variable names, okay? So my last name, my name should be Keanu, and if I do my last name, it should be Keanu Reeves, okay? Well, it took some time, but this is because we are using this website, okay? Now we can also check their type, like using the type function, like the integer or floats that we did. So type, my name, I'm gonna do only one because it will be basic same. So they will be from type class string. Okay, here it is, str. There you go. Now, there is another way how we can write these strings. So imagine that you have a string that it stretches into multiple lines, and you want to follow that structure to have a multiple line string. Now, if we do this here, for example, if I do this here, if I hit return or enter and I start typing something, it will give me an error. This is not possible with the normal way how we can write strings. But there is another way how we can write long string that stretches into multiple lines like this. So I'm gonna have text here, and I'm gonna use the three single line quotes. And what I can do here, I can say first line, then second line. As you can see, there is no errors. Third line, and now if I print this text, it will keep this structure. It will print the way it is here. So this is very handy in Python, okay? So this is a multi-line string, okay? And this is how we can define a single line string with using this single or double brackets. Now, another interesting thing that I want to mention with strings is that we can do a string concatenation. And string concatenation means adding two strings together or multiple strings together using the plus sign. Okay, so I'm going to use this too, and I'm going to say full name here. I'm going to create another variable, and inside this variable I will have my name plus my last name. And if I print now full name, this plus sign or operator allows us to concatenate these two strings, to join these two strings. So here it is, Keanu Reeves. Now, there is a problem here because they're like there's no space in between them, and you obviously want it. So one way to do it is just to add a space here before the last name, right? And if you run it now, it will have a space. Good, but this is not ideal here. So the best way to do is just to include that one here, okay? Now let's do it again. There you go. Now you have the string. So you can add it here or add it here, but it's not preferred to have a white space there. This one is more preferred option. So now you know about strings, how you can check their type, and also how to join them using the plus sign, plus operator. And this is not actually adding, it's called concatenation. But now let's do this. Can we have like hello, and I will say hi here. I will have hello variable and assign a string hi. And if I have 5 here and say 5 as a number, and let's do message hello plus 5. And if we try to print this, what you think will happen? Print message. Well, we have a type error. We say it can only concatenate string, not integer, because this is another data type and it's not string, right? Because it has a number there. So be careful when you using concatenation. You don't mix the different data types because it will give you this type error. Okay, now we need to learn. We can figure out this one in the next lecture because we need to do something that is called type conversion. Okay, in Python we have something that is called type conversion or type casting. And we can do this using some built-in functions in Python. So for example, this is not possible. We are trying to concatenate string with integer and we got a type error. So first things first, let's comment this out and also this one. Now, we know that this is integer, but let's just do it one more time using the type function. Check if the 5 is actual from class integer. And there it is. So we have 5, the variable 5 have an integer value. Nice. So the type conversion or type casting allow us to change the data types from, for example, from integer to strings. So how we can do this? There are built-in function str that will help us to convert this one, the integer, the number that we passed inside, to a string. And now if we run the program again, we will see that it's from the class string. And now we can uncomment this part and let's see. We should have high 5. Congratulations, now you know how to do type conversion and type casting. But this is str, this is from to string, to convert it to string. We can do other things as well. For example, I have num1 to be 5 like this. And if we just print the type of num1, we will see that it's from a type string, right? Good. Now, I just want this to convert it to an integer. Let's create num2 to be equal to 4. And I want this to convert to integer so I can do basic mathematical calculation, because at the moment if I do print, let's do it here, print num1 plus num2, I will have again a type error. Right, so what we can do now, we can create this and we can use int function. And this int function will explicitly tell the Python interpreter, okay, just convert the string back to a number. All right, here it is. I have the number and now the result is 9. So we can use this for floats. We can use, let me just copy this. I'm going to copy everything here and I'm going to paste it here and I'm going to say float. For example, let's do 5.5 here and 4.3. And let's do this number num3 and num4. And here we can do actually 3, num3 plus num4. But first, instead of using the int built-in class, we can use float, right? Oh, I hate this because I've zoomed a lot this page. And yeah, so why, if I spell it right, that's why. So now it should work and this type should be back to float. Good. This is called explicit type conversion or type casting, because we as developers, we are telling the Python interpreter, okay, we just want this to be converted to a different data type. And that's pretty much it. I hope now that you understand how the type casting or type conversion is done. And by the way, we need to add a comment here and say explicit. This is explicit typecasting, okay? Because we as developers are telling the interpreter, okay, we want to change the data type. But there's another way, it's called implicit. And let me give you an example here. let me just write this one. And after that, we can discuss. So I'm going to create two numbers, int num, like this, int num1, it will be, for example, 10, float num1, num2, it will be 14.3. Okay, now we can use print and print the type. We already know the type, but let's do this. So int num1, and I haven't shown you this, but in the print, we can also write a message and say here in a quote, we can write message and say data type of int num1. And don't forget the comma in between there. Good. Now the data type of float. Good. And now we can do a sum numbers, sum num. Okay, numbers, let's do this. It's better like this. So int num1 plus this one. So we're trying to sum two numbers. One is the integer and one is the float. Okay, so they're from two different data types. And here I'm just gonna print total sum is, make sure that you put here column like this, comma, and some numbers. Good. And also we can do the data type. The data type of some numbers is, and some numbers here. Oops, what happened? What I'm doing? Good. So some numbers. And here we can say is good. Now let's run this. Okay, see what happened first. Here it is. The total sum is 24.3, and the sum numbers is from type float. The first one is integer, right? This one is integer. The second one is a float. The total sum is float as well. So this is an implicit type conversion or typecasting, because we don't need to use any built-in functions from Python. This is done implicitly in the background somewhere. So behind the scenes, the interpreter will do some background checks and calculation to avoid data loss. And that's why it automatically will convert this to a float, so it can calculate both of them as a float. And at the end, the sum will be also float. So this is called implicit or automatic data type conversion or typecasting. So there you go. Now you know about two different types, explicit and implicit. This is something that we are not aware of, but Python, the interpreter, knows the rules, and he's doing in the background just to avoid some data losses. Okay, that's it. Let's talk about formatted strings and how the strings can be stored in memory. So we talked about how the integers and floats are stored in memory, and we're gonna do the same thing for strings because they are another data type, and how we can format strings. So formatted strings, they are called F strings because of the F leading character preceding the string literal. And I know this is not clear at this stage, but let's do one example. For example, I'm gonna do here James, and I will say Daniel, and Bond, I will create Craig. So Daniel Craig was the last James Bond that we know, right? And in future it will be new one. Maybe you're gonna when you're gonna watch this video, it's gonna be new one. So let's do an age. We don't need the age. Okay. So how the formatted strings are? We can create them. So print here. We type the F. So this is the leading character, and it precedes the string literal. And here we write the string. So dear. So one more thing here with formatted strings, we can grab the values of the variables using these brackets, curly brackets, okay? So dear James, and we need to close it. Do you leave it space there? Dear James Bond, we thank you for being 007 for so many years. Okay, now save it, and there you go. Now you have the output. So we only need to add the F. Before, in the past, we had to do it a little bit different, but now it's very easy. So you don't need to add F before the string, and that will tell the Python interpreter that we want to create the string to be formatted. That's it. Now the same thing can be do with string concatenation, but it's gonna be a little bit, you know, a little bit more painful. So here I will say dear, then I will say plus, space a little bit between them, then I will say James, then I will have another plus here for concatenation, right? This is not. So look, this is getting a little bit weird. And now we have this one with thank you being for. So let's save it, and we're gonna have the same output. Here it is. There you go. But this is the old school. Now you can use the formatted string to achieve the same things a little bit cleaner. So we don't need to worry about the plus. We don't need to worry about adding the white space. We can add the space between them here. No problems. So the second part is how the strings can be stored in memory. Now the strings are stored in memory as a sequence of, as an ordered sequence of individual characters. What does that mean? Okay, now let's do this. My name. Let's create a variable that will have Rick S. And I'm not gonna write my full last name. You're gonna see why. So I have my name variable, and I have string stored there as a data type. Okay, so as I told you, the strings are stored as an ordered sequence of characters. Now they're stored in memory somewhere as an ordered sequence of characters, and each character will be stored in a memory separately. So these R will be stored with somewhere in the memory as a separate character with index or at location 0. So every time, if you have done other programming languages, you know that arrays and things like that, they're index based, and they always, their index start from 0. So this first character will be stored somewhere in memory with location of, or with index 0. The I will be index 1, this 2, 3, the white space also will be stored as a 4, and this will be 5. Now, because we store the strings are stored like that in a memory, we can get the individual character from them. How we can do this? So if I do now print my name, it will grab the entire string, right? It will grab the entire value of that string. Here it is. But if I do now print my name, and if I use square brackets and the index or the position 0, it will indicate, okay, let's go there, and from a memory grab me whatever character is at the position 0. So if I run it, I will get R. Okay, now let's do 4 here. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. What you think will happen? Here it is. I still got the output, but because it's a white space, you're not going to be able to see anything here. So I grab that white space. So if I do it here, 5, I would have the capital S. Oops. There you go. And when you're grabbing your string individual characters like this, using the square brackets and the index location, so you need to be careful, because sometimes you can do this. Let's do another in print 6. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we are looking for 6, but the quotes are not included, remember. So we will have an error, say index error. The string index is out of the range. So this is very common. This is a very common error, and this means, okay, we are looking something from a memory that does not exist. We're trying to access that individual character, but with this index, but there's nothing there in the memory. So simply does not exist. So this is very often, and we beginners, even I have done these mistakes in the past. So you just keep forgetting that the first character always starts from 0. Okay, that's pretty much it. I hope that you learned what formatted strings are and how the strings are stored in memory. Okay, now we need to learn about something else. This is called escape characters. First things first, comment this one out, run the code, make sure there's no errors there. Okay, nice. So what are escape characters? So remember when we learned about strings and we said that we can create strings if we wrap a text around quotes, single or double, right? So, but sometimes in that text can have illegal characters. For example, let's say here text is equal I am James Bond. This is clearly not working, and even if it close here, because this apostrophe here is illegal character, so it doesn't allow us to create a string like this. Now, one way to fix this with apostrophe, if you use apostrophe inside the text, inside here, if we can use text 1, or actually I'm gonna redo the same example. If you use double quotes, so we use double quotes and we can use a single quotes inside. There will be no problem. See, the red warning disappeared. So this is one way to fix it, but it's not always ideal. Now, the good thing is that in Python, we have an escape character. This is the escape character, backslash, oops, not this one, here, like this. So, the above example that we had, like this, with the single quotes, was not working. But if we use an escape character before the character, before this illegal character, then we can make this working. So we can do it like this. Now, if we print the text and run it, we should have I am James Bond. This is super cool, right? So the escape character is this backslash, okay? So what else we can do with escape characters? Well, if we want to create this pattern, for example, text 1, let's create this pattern. Actually, this output. I'm just gonna make here a comment, and we want to create this output, like James, then we have this, Oliver, then we have Thomas, then we have Theodore. Okay, so if we want to have a string like this pattern, to include the backslash, because we use the backslash to escape some illegal characters, but now we want that backslash to be included here. So what we can do is this. So we can do text2, and let's copy the entire thing here. It will give us an error for a moment, but we can do here, done. And let's do print text2. It's like we used double backslash, okay? In the output, we will have only 1. Good. Now, if we want to add a tab in front of the string and make some indentation, then we can use \t. Okay? Now, let's do add a tab. So text 4, let's do, this is without a tab, and text 5 will be with the tab. So \t here, and give a breathing space, and let's print both of them now. Print text 4 and print, just to see the difference, text 5. Let's run this. Good. So this is without tab and this is with tab. Look how many characters are being added. Now, if we want to add a new line in our string, we can use \n. So if we want to add a tab here, I can add like this, \t. But if we want to add a new line, we need to use \n, and I'm going to copy. Okay, I need only one of them, like the first one. Oops, like the first one. So I'm gonna say text 6 here, and this is with a new line, and I'm gonna add the new line here, right? So you can full stop. I'm gonna add the new line and say new line. Okay, if we now print the text 6, ideally we want this to be in one line and this to be in the new line, okay? To be under. Here it is. And this is not good because we could do only this, save it again. We just add a space there. We need to get rid of that space so they can be in the same line. Good. And again, it's the same, okay? Because of this. Okay, so we get rid of all of this. See, I'm making mistakes as well. So there we go. Now you know how to add a new line. So what we have done, we have learned about escape characters. And when we have an illegal character, we can use it the \, right? But when we want to add that \ in our string, we need to use double \. When we want to add a new tab, we can use \t, or when we want to add a new line, \n. Okay, here is the table. Let me see, where was it? Here it is. Here is the table. So you can pause the video, and this is the code you need to use. You need to use single quote. You can use \apostrophe. And this is it. So this is the table that you can use for creating this part. Okay, so that's pretty much it about escape characters. We have learned that we can extract individual characters based on their indexes, okay, in the previous lectures. Now it's the time to learn how we can perform string slicing. Yeah, this is something new and it's very interesting. It's called string slicing, or extracting a substring of a string. Okay, in order to achieve this, we need to use this following syntax. We need to use start and stop. Okay, we will learn what's this. So start and stop are just indexes, and this is just a description what they mean. Okay, don't worry. So now the first index is it's also called start index. And it's a separate by colon from the second index called stop. Okay, so let's create one example. We're gonna use the previous one, my name equal Rick S. Okay, and so let's do the string slicing, and let's do this. Print my name, and here I want to start from 0 index and to end at index 4. Okay, now if I run this, I will get Rick only. I'm not gonna get this one because 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. But you should know that this last index, or the stop index, will not be included in the output. That's why the space character, it's not gonna be included there. Okay, that's cool. Now, if we want to get the full string, we can do this. 0 until 6. And someone will say, okay, but the 6, there was a out of range error. But now the 6, because it's not gonna be included, it will grab the entire string. So this is how we can do the string slicing, right? And you remember that we always start from index 0. Now, the next thing that we need to learn is how we can do the string slicing with step over. Okay, let's see what this string slicing with step over means. String slicing with step over, and I'm gonna copy this part here because until here it's the same syntax, but we need to include the step over. Okay, so what this means, in the previous example, we saw that we can slice a string based on the start and stop position. Start is the starting index and stop is the last index, but it will not include it in the output. Now the step over indicates the step size, right? And the default is 1. If we don't put it here, if you just omit it and use it like this, that means, okay, the default is 1 and we are going character by character. But if we increase the size of the step, then we will start skipping and the output will be different. So let's create numbers, but these numbers will not be like integer or float numbers. It will be in string. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. And now create this print numbers, and should start from the 0 position or 0 index, should go till the end. All right. But number 9 will not be included, right? And the step over size should be 2, okay? Because if we omit this, we will get, from 0 till 8, we will get the entire string. But if we do, so this is basically, we have done this because the default value is 1, it will be already applied. Now, if we increase the step over to 2, this is what will happen. So it will start skipping. Now we have a different output. So from this example, we can see that the step is 2 and it will start, first it will start at the first position, right? Then it will step over 2 times and it will print the number 2. Then it will step over 2 times and it will print the number 4. Then it will step 2 times and it will print number 6. Then it will step 2 times and it will print the number 8. Cool. Now, working with slicing is very interesting because there are different scenarios that we should be aware of. And for example, if we only include the start index and we omit the first part, omit the last part, the end index, like this. Can you guess the output? So if I say only 1 here, so the starting index is 1, but everything else, the step over, the stop, and the step over is omitted, what do you think will happen? Let's check it out. There you go. Now, this basically means we need to start at position 1. That's why the 0 is not there. Start at position 1. This is 0, 1. Start at position 1. And then because there is no stop index, it will go until the end. Now, this is a perfect when we have a very long string. We don't know the last index is because this, we can calculate it, right? It's very easy. But when it's a long, we don't know the end index. We can use this syntax. What about if we omit the start, this index, and we just end up with the stop index, okay? Let's do this scenario. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say here, there will be nothing here, but I will just add the stop index. What do you think will happen? That's interesting. So this means start from 0 because we don't supply any start index and go until the number 4 index, 4th position, but don't include it, right? Remember, always the stop position, you will not include it. Okay, now, what will happen if we omit the starting, the end, and we just include the step over, okay? What do you think will happen? If we run this, we will get the entire string. So this will print the entire string because the default always is position 0, and end, we say end where the string should end, and the step over is 1, the default value. So even if we don't include it, it will be the same. So the same example, if we do it with the step over 2, we will get, here it is, we will get the same as this one. Okay, great. We have learned about a lot about string slicing, and let's see what will happen if we include a negative value here. Okay, so I'm just gonna create this, I'm gonna copy this one, and I'm gonna just add minus 1 here. So if I run this, the output will be 8. Okay, and this is because in Python the negative index means start at the end of the string instead of position 0. So start at the end of the string and give me that. This is what's happening. Now, the most useful scenario is with this string slicing, with the step over as well, is to get this string, the original string, reversed. So how we can do this? Very simple. We can copy this one. We will omit the first step, the starting index. We will omit the ending index, and we will just include the step over with -1. And if we run it, voila, we have the string reversed. And this is very useful, okay? This is very useful because sometimes we need the string, which is like a list of numbers, to be reversed. And we can easily do with this syntax. Okay, so you have learned a lot about string slicing. Let's move on to something more interesting. It's time for a very interesting topic, and this is called strings are immutable. So in Python, the strings are immutable. Once they're created and the individual characters are stored in a memory, that's it. They're not mutable. We can't change them. Okay, so let's do an example and I will show you what I mean. So let's say my text, let's say James here, and if I print my text, it will be James. Okay, but what if I do this? My text equal to Andy, and print my text again. Here it is, James and Andy. Now, my text, I said they're immutable, the strings, but I've changed it. Well, this is two different things. This is a value reassignment, so I assign a new value to a variable my text, but the way Andy is stored here, I'm just going to delete this, or I'm just going to comment this one, but the way that James is stored without reassigning a value, this is stored in a memory as an ordered sequence of characters, JAMES, starting from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are their character indexes. So if I do this print, if I want to access the first one, I will say my text of 0, right? And that will give me the letter J or character J. Cool. But if I want to do something like this, let's remove this part. If I want to grab the first one, and in that place, instead of James, let's say add a K there, right? Add a K. And you can print my text again. Let's see what will happen. There you go, you have a type error. The string object does not support item assignment. So we cannot reassign new individual characters here on their places. They're already booked. They are in somewhere in a memory. So in the position 0, there is J. So I can't put it K there because it's reserved for J. That's why the strings are immutable in Python. And this is a very important concept. Please don't confuse it with string value reassignment, because we can reassign, because this actually, what we're doing here, my text variable points to James, to the order sequence of characters James, but when I do this, now my text variable will point to some other location where this ordered sequence of characters is located, right? So there's two different things. And yeah, now strings in Python are immutable, but we can assign a new value to them because the existing string will be completely deleted. Okay, that's pretty much it about strings, and their immutability. Okay, it's a practice time. We have learned a lot of features, and I think we are ready to write our first mini Python program. So this program is very simple. we need to calculate the sum of two numbers, and we should ask the user to enter these numbers. And in the end, we need to use the formatted string to display the result. So this is the output. This is what you need to use. So for example, if the user enters 12 and 6, the sum should be 18. Now, you can do this on your own. You can stop this video, you can pause it, do it on your own, and then compare the result. If not, if you don't know, you can start with me. Okay, now, first things first, how should we ask the user to enter numbers? Remember the input function? Okay, let's use that one. So input, and say, please, we need to use this format. Please enter the first number, column there. And we can store this as a first number, right? We can store it in a variable. I can do the same thing for the second number. Please enter the second number. And we are done asking the user to enter the number. All I need to do is to create a result or sum. Result is better. So first number plus second number, and it's saying use the formatted strings, and the formatted strings had F before them. So the sum of the two numbers is, and we can do the result here. Okay, cool. Let's run the program now. This will disappear. Let's run the program, and the first should be 12. And if I type 6 and I hit enter return, the result should be 18, but I have 126. What is happening here? Why I have 126? Well, first things first. The user inputs these two numbers, but what is their data type, right? So we can check that. So we can say, okay, let's check print type of the first number, and we can copy this one, and we can check the type for the second number and see why we have this one. So we need to repeat the same process, right? We need to enter 12, oops, not here, sorry guys, 12 and 6. So I have 126 again, but I have the type is from the class string. So this is a data type string. So what I do is basically string concatenation. 12 and 6, that's why they concatenate, because they're both of the strings. So that's why I got 126. Now, in order to solve this, we need to do what? We need to do type conversion or type casting. So I want this string to be converted to integer, so I can use the oops, because I have zoomed so much and this is giving me problems now. Okay, there you go. Now here int again. Let's see. So I've converted the string to integer using the int built-in function. Let's do this. Let's do 12 and 6, and voila. Now the result is 80. So this was just a little warm-up, because from now on we will cover a little bit more complex concepts, but this was just to show you that you can write Python with the existing knowledge so far. Okay, so take care, and let's start learning new features. Oh boy, this lecture will be very interesting, because we're going to learn what's the difference between functions and methods, how we can use a couple of built-in functions from Python, okay? And yeah, we will cover all of these string methods. Okay, so first things first, a function. Every time we see a brackets like this, we know it's a function. And for example, the input function requires some argument here. This is called argument. And these so far were built-in functions from Python, so we can use them. Input or int or str or float, whatever. So these are built-in functions from Python library that we can use straight away without thinking too much how they were defined in the background. But we should know what type of data they require. As I mentioned, input requires something here. So that's a data or argument. It can be one or it can be many. If there are many, they should be separate with comma. Now we will learn how we can create our own functions. And when we create our own functions, we will actually know, because the functions always produce a result and the functions always require us to do something. For example, if we pass two numbers, 5 and 10, maybe this function is for calculating the sum and it will produce an output 15, right? So we will know what kind of data the function requires and what will be the output, because it's our user-defined function. So that is called user-defined function. Now, another interesting function is this len function, right? This is again built-in function from Python. But if you go on Google and type built-in functions and open the Google Python official documentation, this is all of the built-in functions at this point. Okay, so when you have time, just go over them, learn it as much as you can. We're not going to use all of them, but let's do this len. Now, len will return the length or the number of items from an object. For example, let's do a text, a string, and you can do print text, and then we're gonna call, len, then we're gonna pass the text. So the len function requires us to pass an argument, which will be this string, and if we run it, it will give us the length or number of items. Now remember, this length is not same as the index. They start from 1, even this is calculated, the white space. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Good. Now you know the length function. Now another function that we have covered is this round. And why I'm just repeating the same function? Well, this function, if you open the documentation, you will see that it takes 2 arguments. But this one is optional. That is why when you don't know what that function is about, just read it, because sometimes you don't know what type of data requires, so it can produce a result. For example, here, this one, we can rewrite it even like this. A string. We don't need to pass the variable here. We can just do it straight away. But if we put here 5, for example, we will have an error, type error, because object of type integer has no len, right? So we cannot use it here. That's why the documentation is super, super important. Okay, now round, it can take only one parameter, and that can be 4448888. And if we run it, it will round it to a nice number of 5. What happens here? Oh, that is because I never printed out. I see 8, and I was thinking, why it's giving me 8? And it should be 5. Good. This one is a little bit slow, but it's okay. Now, methods. What's the difference between methods and functions? There is no difference. The thing is that the methods belong to someone. The methods needs to be called by someone or something. But these built-in functions, they're just a function. We can use it straight away. No one is going to need to call it, like this one. Round, len, input, like this, whatever. So the methods, they belong to someone. And for example, we learned a lot about strings, and the strings have their own methods. They belong to strings and no one else can use it. So let's create here another variable text1 and say a string. So what we can do now, the upper method. This is a very interesting method because it's used a lot. So this will convert a given string to an uppercase. So let's do this. Result 1, let's do result 1. It will be text1 to upper, like this, and we can print the result 1, and should be converted this string to uppercase. Good. Now I said that methods belong to someone. Here it is. We call this method using the dot notation. This is called dot notation. Okay, this is called dot notation because we call it the string calls. This method belongs to strings only. Okay. Now another method that is very used is called capitalize, and this method will return the first character into capital letter. Okay, so I'm just gonna say print here, and I'm going to use it straight away with the string hi there. Instead of calling this one here dot, I can use dot, because this is already a string, right? Dot capitalize, and don't forget the brackets. There you go. Hi there. The first character is turned into capital letter. Another one is lower. So if I do hi there and replace this to lower, it will return everything in lowercase. Nice. So another method is find method. For example, we want to find if a specific substring is occurred or is there in a string. So let's do this. Result 3 equal, or let's do result 2, don't skip numbers, right? And the reason why I'm using result 2, 1 is that because I don't want to override whatever is happening here, okay? So, and I don't want to confuse you. My name is Rick. What is yours? Question. And now I can use the find method and say I want to check if this is here, occurred somewhere, and if this is occurred in the string. So let's print the result, and look what it will return. 8. So this gives me the index where the first occurrence of is happened. So there is the index 8. Good. Now another good one is this one. I'm going to copy this one. Replace. So replace needs two values, old one and a new one. So we can do it like this. Instead of replace, and this one change it to number 3, call it here 3, replace Rick. Let's say that I want to replace my name with Mick because it rhymes. And let's just do this a little bit so you can see everything in one line. So if I run it, I should have my name is Mick, what's yours? There you go. But why is this happening? Because we said that the strings are immutable, and now I've changed only a part of the string from Rick to Mick. So why is this happening? Well, this is because I've created this example this way so I can explain you the reason. Now we can rewrite the same example and do it like this. So original string, and let's grab everything from here until there, cut it, and store it in the original string, and call the original string here. Good. And now print. First we need to print the original string, and then the result 3. Nice. And there you go. You can see that this method produces a value and returns that value so we can store it, but it doesn't affect the original string. And that's why you were thinking that, oh, because I've stored it in a result 2, but I didn't change the original string. And this original string was never saved anywhere. Okay, so there you go. Now you know that this doesn't affect the original string, only produces a value that we can play around. Now the join. Now this join method, we can use it on strings because it will join or concatenate a list of strings. So we haven't covered a list now, but the lists are very simple. They're lists of items, and they have this syntax. Inside the list, we can have multiple items separated by comma. Okay, let's do this. So result number 4, it will be equal to, I want to join all of the items with this delimiter here, and I need to use join, and inside I need to pass an argument, and this argument is a list of string. This is, or this course, let's say this course is awesome. I hope you like it. And now I'm just gonna print the result 4, and you will see that everything is joined, but with this little guy here. Nice. Put exclamation mark there, and there you go. Now you learn everything about Functions and methods, what's the difference about them? And you know that a methods belong to someone, so we need to call it using this dot notation. And you learn about super important string methods. Okay, Python in keyword. This is a very interesting topic that we're gonna learn today. And same as the built-in functions we have in Python, we have keywords as well, and they need to be spelled exactly as they are. And if you open this link, docs.python.org/2.5 ref keywords of HTML, and these are the keywords. They are also known as identifiers, okay, or reserved words. Good. Now let's go back here. So the keyword in is very special because it can be used in many different applications. The in reserved keyword can be used with strings as well. For example, let's do this. I'll say long text, and let's say Andy is 6 years old, and print. So say here 5 or 6 in long text. Okay, what's happening here? If we hit run this one, we will get true. So this keyword in has different purposes, and one of them is to check if the part of a string is present in this sequence. Okay, so yeah, number 6, actually it's 6 is a string in this case. 6 is present in this string, so we're trying to find 6, and it is there, and because it's there, we got true. Now this true belongs to another data type called Booleans. So let's learn about Booleans as well. So let's write Boolean here, that we're going to learn about Booleans as well. And Booleans are going to have one of two possible values, and that will be true or false, like this here. They are not unique to Python because we have this data type, we have a different programming language. Almost all of the programming languages use Booleans. So this allows us to set a variable like this. Is true, to set it to true, and print, we can print this is true. Let's run it. We'll say true again. Good. And or is false to false. We can set it to false. Look, the color is changed. And if we run it, I will have true, true, false. Okay, so the power of Boolean you will see when we learn how to make decisions using the if statements, but that is not gonna happen right now because the if statements we will cover a little bit later in this course, and we will use them to make decisions. But before explaining the if statements, I would also like to share that we can use Booleans to evaluate an expression. Okay, so for example, we can print if 3 is bigger than 1, right? Which is true. 3 is actually bigger than 1. It will be evaluated to true. Good. Or we can say 3 is equal to 3. I use double equal here, right? Don't worry about this. We will learn about them. So it's true again. And let's say that 3 is smaller than 2, which is false. Okay. Now, as I mentioned, these are very good for decisions. So if the condition is true, do something else, do something else. So that's a decision tree, and we will learn about all of it in future. So we can also write this one. I will give it you 2 more examples, but I will not be able to explain them as now. But yeah, let's do them. So if you do print, there is a built-in function called bool. And if I use it here, 0, and let's do the other one. So print bool of 1, what you think will happen? Let me close all of this like this. comment everything actually, so you can see these last two. So I have false and true. So Boolean will return false, Boolean 0 will return false, and Boolean 1 will return true. And this Boolean function will actually convert the integer values to either true or false. And we will learn why is this happening in the future when we're doing conditions. Okay, so that's pretty much about, let me uncomment everything here. Pretty much everything about that you need to know at this stage about Booleans. And this is it for part 2, because this is gonna be a final lecture for this part 2. And in the part 3, we're gonna start with lists, a very fundamental feature of Python. So if you like the content, please consider sharing my course to your friends. Like it, comment, whatever you want to do. If you can, subscribe. If you don't, that's all good. So yeah, I will see you in the next lecture, and stay safe.